topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Did you know women represent just 3% of Fortune 500 CEOs and less than 15% of corporate executives at top companies worldwide? Have you wondered what the secrets are to getting into the top ranks, whether in the private or public sector? Do you want to figure out how to stop being held back in your career or passed over for promotion? Then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, President and CEO of the Executive Women's Success Institute. I have decades of experience in the military, the federal government, and corporate America, and my mission is to help women succeed and tap into their full potential. I want to reach 1 million plus women around the world to become the leaders they are meant to be. So if you want to move into a management or executive level position, or maybe you are a female veteran transitioning out of the military into business entrepreneurship, then reach out to the Executive Women's Success Institute at 301-693-3284. Let us get you on the fast track to success. Well, hello and happy new year to all of you who are viewing us today. This is the Successful Women Show, where you can view us on Talk 4 TV and listen to us on the Women for Women Network. I am Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, your host, and my mission is to help women accelerate the path to success. Well, today's topic is Success Starts Within. And my guest is Chaz Scott. Now, let me give you just a little bit of background about Chaz. Chaz Scott is the founder of Supramentum LLC. He is an author and keynote speaker who helps high-achieving professionals escape burnout and build success that feels as good as it looks. His work focuses on clarity, resilience, I should say, and sustainable performance for those who are outwardly successful and want to sustain their ambition without burning out. Chaz challenges hustle culture and redefines what it means to lead and succeed sustainably. He is the author of Success Starts Within, and he has worked with organizations such as the University of Illinois Hospital, the Maryland Association of Election Officials, and the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce. So I would like to bring as our guest today, Mr. Chaz Scott.
Oh, thank you so much for that warm introduction. I appreciate being invited, and I'm excited for today's discussion. Thank you, Doctor.
Well, you know what? Thank you for being here. And I normally start off by reading everybody's standard bio. But then I like to ask one question, and that is, I just want you to tell us what you want us to know about Chaz Scott.
That's a great place to start. Well, you said my bio a little bit there, but, you know, I went to Hampton University and I studied computer science, cybersecurity for my master's. And it was right around that time where I had just graduated, sort of trying to find my way and find my first job, and climb the ranks within the organization, as well as build a nonprofit at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment where I started to basically burn out. And there was a process of self-discovery that I really had to go on to really understand what this term success was, what this term happiness was, what this term fulfillment was. And it really sent me on a journey to read every book I could on personal development, psychology, neuroscience, spirituality, anything that can enhance the quality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a journey to read it because, interesting enough, when I graduated, I had the job I wanted. I had the condo I wanted looking over the Potomac.
Okay.
I had the BMW that I wanted, nice red leather interior. Mm-hmm. But I was waking up with anxiety. I was waking up depressed, and I was waking up stressed before the day even started. And it caused me to reflect on what it really means to live a happy and healthy life. And what I determined over these many, many years, this was back in 2017. And mind you, I had an hour and a half long commute, falling asleep at the wheel. And I just felt like the job wasn't fulfilling. Mm-hmm. It was just paying the bills. And what I determined throughout this journey was success is not something that you chase. It ensues as a byproduct of well-being. Now, what do I mean by that? Hustle culture, our society has taught us that we're supposed to hustle and race and achieve. And you know this, in our society, especially here in America, we're consistently seeing higher rates of burnout, particularly within the communities of people of color, first generational professionals, anybody who's ever been taught that you have to work 10 times harder than everybody else in the room.
Yes.
We're burning out.
Yeah.
And this process of discovery, I realized that there are simple practices that you need to do daily to fill up your cup, to fill up your well-being, so that you can have the focus that you want, so you can have the patience that you want with employees, so that you can show up as your authentic self, and it's well-being.
Wow. You know, it's interesting you say that, because when I was working before I retired, when I did retire, believe it or not, because I was always at my desk 6 a.m. every morning, 6 o'clock. You could set your watch by it. So when I retired, I slept just about, maybe I would get up like 2 o'clock in a day, because, and like you say, and I think it was because I was so burnt out. And finally, I did that probably for a whole month. And then for me, I just thought to myself, okay, you got to get a grip now, and you can't just keep doing this. So I just snapped out of that. But I realized that I needed that rest, because I was just, everything was just, I just didn't want to think about anything. And I had that opportunity for that length of time just to do that, just to not focus, not think about anything. I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to associate with anybody. I just, but that, I think, and that's what I think it came from, being burnt out from every day, the having to be there and do what I needed to do. And like you say, perform the high achieving stuff. And I know we're going to get into that, but when you have to do that for every day for so many years, it actually, I really believe it takes a toll on you. It really does.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you bring that up, because oftentimes we don't even realize that we're burnt out. It's kind of like this, you could either feel it psychologically, a lack of fulfillment, or just a lack of energy.
Yes.
And many times we're just caught in the rat race and the hustle culture, and we're not even realizing that we're not feeling the best. And we get stuck. And oftentimes that becomes our life until something changes. And that's what happened to me.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so true. And it's just unfortunate to think about. There's still a lot of people out there that's still going through that cycle. They just haven't, readjusted yet. They haven't realized, okay, why am I getting up every morning, like you say, with the anxiety and the depression. They don't realize probably what's even causing it, what it is. Because think about everything that you mentioned that you had, you know, every person looking at you would say, well, he has no reason to be depressed. He shouldn't have anxiety. He's got, what they say, he's got it all pretty much. But for you, yes, the material things, but it's always more than that. And that's why I always say, when you talk about success truly means different things to different people. It really does. It's all in how you define it and what it means to you. So, yeah.
100% spot on. And I think you mentioned it in my bio, which is, I'm on a mission to help people build a life that feels as good as it looks, not just looks good, but feels good. You should feel excited waking up, going into work. You should feel like you have the resources to overcome adversities in your life. And even though, you may be stressed, you should feel like you have tools to fall back on so that you can maintain your equilibrium and make good decisions. And, this stuff is not taught. You have to either go seek it or you go burn out and then go find it.
Find it. Absolutely. So tell me this. I know in your book, you emphasize in your book that's titled Success Starts Within, you emphasize internal alignment over external validation. So what are some subtle ways that high achieving individuals may be, you think, outsourcing their worth without even realizing it?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I can sort of follow up with my own journey. It's very interesting, and it happens very subtly here in our society. But when we, and especially with social media, we're constantly comparing ourselves to people. But it's interesting. We always think that an external material thing is going to make us feel good. Okay. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I want that certain house, I want that certain car, I want that certain job. There's certainly something to be said about setting a goal and going after and achieving it.
Right.
But what's really important is making sure that you're filling up your cup continuously. I talked about it a little bit. What's the point of working so hard, climbing up this mountain, trying to achieve something? You get to the peak of the mountain. Not only have you been climbing the wrong mountain, but you haven't been enjoying the journey. Absolutely. And I think for many of us in our careers, whether you're a business owner or you're a professional, we're constantly climbing mountains, and inner alignment is really important. What is your purpose? What is your why?
Yes.
I'm sure many of the listeners are really, high achievers. There's been many times where you've probably achieved a goal, and then after you achieve the goal, you're like, that's it? And you're like, man, I guess what else is next?
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the purpose of having sort of a North Star or a why. So, after you publish a book, after you get that promotion, after you do a TEDx talk, what's going to happen after that? Like, what is your overall mission and goal? And for me, is to help high achievers reclaim their energy, purpose, alignment, to rise out of burnout. Now, there are tools associated to allowing me to do that, but those tools are not the end goal. The end goal is a higher purpose, a higher why. So inner alignment of why you're here on this earth is really important, and sitting down and really discovering yourself. And then on top of that, I touched about a little bit of my story is during that time in 2017, when I was waking up with anxiety and feeling stressed before the day started, I realized that is the worst way to start your day. It carries you throughout the entire day. So I had to stop and sit with myself and say, Chaz, if you're not enjoying your life, you don't feel like you have the energy, the fulfillment, something needs to change. And when I was reading all of these books and trying to find all these practices to enhance my quality of life, I realized there was a single thread through all these successful entrepreneurs, these athletes, which was some type of morning routine. And when I talk about inner alignment as opposed to external validation, no matter what happened yesterday, no matter what I'm fearing in the future, if I have something that grounds me daily, it begins to sort of foster inner alignment and grounding for yourself, because our minds are constantly worrying about the future, regretting the past. And if you don't have something that sort of grounds you daily, in my case, it's a 20-minute meditation. I don't leave the house until I do a 20-minute meditation in the morning, or something to move your body to decrease the cortisol, that stress hormone, or maybe listening to a podcast that sort of gives you sort of the energy or the motivation that you need heading to your day. These are simple practices to create inner alignment so you can feel good,
right,
but also look good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that's right. And I do the same thing. It's one of those things where I get up in the morning. I do get up early again, but I do that now because I want to do it. It's not like, an obligation because I have to be, but I do it because I start my morning at least around 5:15, no later than 5:30, and I get my worship in. I listen to my gospels, whatever, on TV, or just listen to the music. But then I go to 8:00 workout class. And then from there, I can start. When I leave there and get home after that, then I can start my daily routine as far as the business goes and what I need to do. Because at that point, I've got my head together, and like you say, my body is getting that together. And so, I think you have to do those things for yourself. And, I get people sometimes ask me, well, how do you, stay in the way you do by yourself? I said, because sometimes you need that time, that quiet time too. So you could even get your thoughts together to get, for the clarity. And like you say, the alignment, just so that you can understand what's going on with you sometimes. And then you could deal with what's on the outside. And that's just needed to me. That's just something you need to do.
100%. If I could just add something, because I love that you talked about sort of your routine. In 2017, when I had the job, I was trying to build a nonprofit. We were doing mental wellness workshops for youth in DC and Baltimore. And I was trying to climb the ranks in the government space and cyber defense. It was so interesting when I started focusing on myself, right? Creating a small morning routine, going to the gym, creating that inner alignment. That same job got better. Nothing changed externally,
right?
But something changed internally. I had more energy. It was easier to write emails. I felt focused. I felt like I was energized heading into meetings as opposed to feeling depleted. I brought the energy with me because I created that inner alignment. And I think for many of us, we wait, or we think that something externally is going to influence us as opposed to focusing internally. So, inner success, inner alignment, those simple habits and well-being practices really can elevate your entire quality of life. And I'm certainly not here to say that your entire life was going to be perfect. You and I both know that.
Yeah, I get it.
But the simple point here is, when you have these practices, adversities don't become these big, huge mountains.
Exactly.
They get easier. You feel like you have the energy and the focus, the concentration, the inner resources, to overcome sometimes even these hard challenges. I'll tell you a story. During a time where I was very, very stressed, I was having some personal challenges, health challenges, moving a lot, and a divorce during that time. There was a period where I would go into work and I would try and write an email. And a simple email was taking me 30 minutes plus. And I remember sitting there like, something's off. I don't feel right. I don't look good. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It was in that moment that I realized again that I needed to tap into sort of those simple practices to fill up my cup. Because when you're stressed, it's very hard for you to have focus. When you're stressed, it's very hard for you to do simple tasks that can get the job done. And the biggest thing that I sort of illuminate, to my the people I coach as well as the work I do is, you've got to find tools to help you to mitigate stress. You're not totally going to get away from it, but if you have tools to fall back on, which I use constantly, like breath work and things of that nature, it'll help you tremendously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Here's a question for you. And I'm gonna, pretty much as it relates to women, because many women are conditioned to equate productivity with value. How can they begin to untangle their self-worth from how much they do for others? Because we tend to always, taking on more than we should, because most of us tend to not know that the word no ends with a period. So how can they begin to untangle their self-worth from how much they do for others?
It's a good question. I'm going to speak from a male's perspective. I certainly can't speak for women, but I don't set me up now.
It's a funny show. Come on now.
Yeah, no, but you know what? I think this is something that a lot of us face, including myself. Productivity, achievement, being goal-oriented. I mean, in this society, we're taught almost that if you're not achieving or staying productive or providing value, you have a lack of self-worth, or you're not worthy for love. And that's really what we're trying to chase, is the value or feeling worthy for love. I think I talked about it backstage. My TEDx talk was why rest feels unsafe and what to do about it. Many of us feel guilty for resting. Many of us feel guilty for taking our foot off the accelerator. Anybody who's ever been taught that you have to work 10 times harder than everybody else in the room, it's very hard for us to take a step back and to really realize that our worth is not tied to our productivity, and our worth is not tied to achievements. And one of the things that I do actually in my coaching practice, I have a 3-step process called the Rise and Reclaim Blueprint. One of the first questions that we sort of discuss is, why do you work so hard? Where does it come from? Right? And everybody has their different sort of stories, whether it be expectations from your family, whether it be, feeling like, you have to work twice as hard than everybody else in the room just to get half as much, right? We've heard those sayings before.
Oh, yeah.
There are mental scripts running through our head that create these beliefs that really can affect our long-term success as well as contribute to burnout. And I think as we start, if you really want to dive deep and start to separate yourself from being tied to your worth and productivity, you really have to understand those mental scripts of why do you feel like you need to achieve? Where is it coming from? Is it societal pressure? Did your dad tell you or your mom tell you that, or did they only give you love because you continue to achieve, or you continue to perform well in sporting events when you were younger? It comes from a mental script. And oftentimes we don't even realize it until we are forced to look at it, or you're listening to a podcast like this to really create more awareness about where these beliefs and these mental scripts come from. So I think it starts there.
Okay. Now you also talk about one of the things you mentioned is listening to your body as a form of wisdom. What signals do people most often ignore, do you think? And what are the consequences of ignoring them long term? And I would think probably some of it is what you mentioned in the beginning. You develop the anxiety, the depression, different things like that.
Yeah. And, I think it happens more often than we realize. I would think probably during that time period in 2017 for me, I think if something didn't happen, I would have continued to sort of stay along that path. And life would have became very sort of this underlying feeling of continuous fear, this underlying feeling of anxiety, and not feeling like I was achieving my potential. And it's interesting because, as you start to sort of discover yourself, discover what you enjoy, discover how you take care of yourself, you start to realize what works for you. Right. And what doesn't work for you. You start to understand what boundaries mean. You start to understand what stress really means to you. Many people don't even realize that they're stressed. They have something called, You've heard of sleep apnea when you're not
Yeah.
breathing while you're sleeping. They have something called screen apnea, where people are looking at their computer screens or scrolling on their phones and they're not breathing, right? These are small things that are affecting how you operate and being able to manage stress. And then, of course, we have the distractions and the demands. So I
Mhm.
think the point is, what are some tools that you can use once you create that awareness so that you can minimize stress in your life, become
Mhm.
aware of it? I'll tell you a story. I live in Arlington, Virginia.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, I get called to Fox 5 to sort of do some wellness or productivity as a guest. But I remember it was in Bethesda. I remember coming up the elevator, and I've done this 3 or 4 or 5 times, but this particular time was very, very nervous for some reason. I was stressed. I was coming up the elevator and my breath began to hyperventilate very quickly. And I
Mhm.
realized, wait, Chaz, you're getting stressed. Okay.
Mm.
What are you going to do so that you can perform at your best and feel like you're supposed to be here? I did a quick breath work exercise, right? Many people do the 3, 4, 7 breath work exercise. For me, I just do a quick breath work. What happens there when I do that breath work exercise, it not only slows down what's called the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight nervous system, it spins up your parasympathetic, your rest and digest nervous system, so
Mhm.
that you can gain conscious awareness of your thoughts so that you can perform at your best. So I did a quick breath work exercise up on that elevator, got out. I said, I'm ready to go.
Mhm.
And, I was able to perform at my best. But I think for many of us, and it took me a while to get to this point, 6 years, for many of us, we do not have tools to fall back on so that we can perform at our best, despite the stress or the anxiety that we may be feeling in our body. And what I found in my own life is meditation, breath work, even prayer. These are great tools to change your states of consciousness, to change your brain so that you can feel good
Mhm.
uh, and perform better.
Yeah.
And sustainable performance, is really dictated by ensuring that you have tools to fall back on.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. So, what does success? Because we talked about the fact that success looks different for everybody looks at success different. What does success look like when it's rooted in peace instead of pressure? And how can someone tell if they're moving in that direction?
It's a very good question. I think it's a question I'm continuing to ask myself, but there are some simple things that I've discovered with some of my clients, and then as well as myself, is, interesting enough, I think in life we get signs, we get feelings, we and I think this probably applies to a lot of people. When you wake up in the morning, how do you feel?
Mhm.
Can you ask yourself that question? How do you
Mm.
feel when you wake up in the morning? Are you headed towards your purpose? Are you headed towards alignment? Are you headed towards a higher vision of yourself? In 2017, I was waking up feeling fearful and feeling depressed. Now I have simple practices that really bring me back into alignment. And I think our body is always talking to us, but we're not listening. And I think that's really important when you want to achieve things in your life and make sure that you're climbing the right mountain.
Mhm.
Um, I think one of the biggest things that has been a shift for me is sort of understanding that there are tons of transitions in our lives that are happening to and from work, in the car, waiting for a meeting to start, heading to the grocery store. There are transitions that are happening throughout our lives, and many times we carry stress from one area of our life to the other.
Mhm.
And I think uh, being mindful of the stress that we carry into other areas of our life. For instance, if you're stressed out at work and you bring that stress home to your significant other, guess
Mhm.
what? You're stressed in two different places.
Mhm.
One of the practices that I've been doing with some of my clients is, before you leave work, you may have been stressed out. What can you do to center yourself prior to heading in to home? So you're not unconsciously bringing that stress to your significant other into the household. And I think that's also important, is having simple practices that you can say, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to carry this stress into any other area of my life or to any other person. Dr. Michael Beckwith talks about how it's important to shower. That's a social contract to shower after you work out, right? What also should be a social contract is to do some type of mental cleanse or mental shower. In this case, it could be prayer or meditation. What are you doing daily to make sure that you're filling up your cup so you're not unconsciously giving your negative energy or negative thoughts towards somebody else? And I also think that's important too, to do a mental shower.
Okay. Now, you also challenge in your book, you talk about you challenge the hustle culture in a way that honors excellence. So what's a misconception people have about slowing down that you'd like to clear up?
Yeah, this is a huge topic. I think actually in the book, I talked about sort of this change in perspective of actually slowing down to speed up. And we're talking about it a little bit, but to make sure that it's clear, you know what, I'm going to talk about sort of a scientific study that they've done. Many people say that I don't have enough time to work out. I don't have enough time to take care of myself. I have demands, I have distractions, I have all these things that I need to do. They did this study on how aerobic exercise can actually affect the brain. So German scientists back in 2007 studied two groups of people. One set of group of people, both of them were learning new vocabulary words, but one set learned those new vocabulary words before working out. The other set learned those new vocabulary words after working out. And they wanted to see how exercise could affect the way that we learn. So interesting enough, the folks that learn those new vocabulary words after working out learn those new vocabulary words 20% faster, right? So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, interesting enough, when you begin to pour into yourself and take care of yourself first, not only do you achieve your goals faster, right, but you enjoy the process. You feel good. Your focus increases. You're smarter because your brain is working at optimal levels and you're more effective and efficient at carrying out whatever task that you want. So one of the simple tasks and habits that I sort of give people is, if there's something that requires your full brain capacity, work out first and then put that activity that you have to do right after that workout, because your brain is working at optimal levels. This is a cheat code. But this is a cheat code that people don't talk about. People are talking about it, but people aren't making use of it in the way that I'm articulating it. You want to set up your day to create ways where you are performing at your best. And the way that you do that is, in this case, aerobic exercise, or doing something that you can move your body so that you can feel good, and it strengthens your neural pathways so that concentration and focus in your prefrontal cortex becomes easier. So that's just, like a simple example that I always like to offer to folks.
Wow. So this question here, though, I got to ask, what if you, for the listening audience, if someone listening realizes that they've built a life that looks successful, but feels misaligned, what's the first gentle step you'd encourage them to do? And I know you mentioned maybe the workout and different things like that, but what else would you suggest that they do, especially in this, when you talk about the hustle culture, and to kind of get them to slow down, really slow down?
You bring up the valid point right there, which is something's got to change. You got to do something, because we love habits. I think it's estimated that 50-60% of our entire behaviors are just repetitive habits, very unconscious. So I think the biggest thing is change up something, change up your routine, do something different. And I discussed a morning routine. Obviously, those are really important things. But very, very simply, this is something I've been actually working out myself, is when you're at work or you're at the computer or at the desk, slow down. Really feel how you're feeling before you send that email. Slow down. Really feel how you're feeling before you show up to that meeting. Take sort of time to really understand how you're feeling in those moments. So many of us are continuing to hustle, continuing to grind, that we're not really thinking about how we're feeling throughout the day. And I think it's really important that we take a step back and to have some breaks. One of the things that I have to do, and I would recommend for anybody, is I take a break. Yes, I get away from my desk and leave my desk at 12 noon. I do not work and eat lunch at the same time. And it's amazing how taking a simple break and then coming back to work makes you feel more efficient. You feel like you have more energy. In that case, actually in the midday there, I'm actually reading as well. So I'm getting away from all the work and all the things that I know that I have to do, and reading a book that has nothing to do with the work that I have to do, because that your brain begins to sort of slow down and starts to go into sort of the right brain hemisphere of more creativity, more imagination, more spark for intuition. And you take that break and then you come back to work, and you would not believe just how much more efficient that you are, as opposed to continuing to hustle through, your lunch, or continuing to hustle through the day without a break. And even as simple as taking a walk, these things are not hard things to do. It's just we don't do them. Taking a walk in nature, looking at things far away, helps to alleviate pressure, helps to alleviate states of anxiety and depression. These are things that civilizations have been doing for thousands of years to decrease stress, to create foundations of equilibrium, and to have a sense of peace. But we're stuck from commuting to work. We're stuck sitting down. We're stuck sort of in the sedentary lifestyle, and we're not getting outside enough. So these are also simple things that you can do, is just get outside of your desk and take a walk so you can feel good, and then come back into work and show up as your most authentic self.
Yeah, that's all true. But then you have those that feel that rest can feel unsafe for some people, especially leaders, because it may bring up uncomfortable emotions, so to speak. So what do you think tends to surface when people finally slow down, and how can they move through it with compassion? Because sometimes, like you said, with the hustle and all of that, and the eating at your desk for lunch instead of going out for lunch, that's not slowing down. That's just keeping the hustle going, really. So how can they move through all of this with some compassion, meaning, I guess, compassion for themselves, to not feel like, well, if I don't, like you say, I got to be better, I got to do it better, and not feel bad about taking a 30-minute lunch or an hour lunch, not feel bad about that.
Yeah, we can sit up here and sell all this all we want. It's really until that individual feels the benefits. And what I've seen in my own clients is, try it. Let me know how you feel after you try it. And usually they come back, they say, oh my goodness, Chaz, wow, I didn't think I was able to accomplish this at 1 or 2 p.m., but I kind of took a break during lunch, and now I was right back to it, and I felt more energized. I felt like I was more focused. Right, try it. So typically what happens is, we get to a point where we start to wake up where something needs to change, and we need a tool to actually make that change. You could read every book, listen to every podcast, hear every tool, but if you don't actually utilize it and get the benefits internally, nothing changes. And then also, you're not going to have the motivation to try it again. So I always offer is, just try it and see how you feel. Embody the feeling of what it feels like to rest, because you're absolutely right. Rest can feel very, very unsafe for people who have been caught in the hustle and rat race. And, in my TEDx talk, I actually talked about we went to go visit my great 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 grandfather. His name was Austin Scott, where he was enslaved in a plantation down in Sparta, Georgia. He was born in 1828. We got to go visit him. In my TEDx talk, I talked about how, particularly in the Black community, we didn't have the option to rest, and how that carries forward to many of us now, where we feel like we have to constantly stay above water and continue to work. And interesting enough, if we don't disrupt that process and become aware of it, it will continue to stay with us for our entire lives. So that's why I always say, having grace, having compassion for yourself starts with receiving the benefits, right? That's like, that gives you the motivation to do it again. But then you start to realize, wait a minute, I feel better. Wait a minute, I have more focus. I want to do that again. I want to make sure I get my 8 hours of sleep. I lie to you not. This past summer was a very busy summer for me. I was probably getting 5 hours of sleep. I just got a Whoop wristband and it tracks your sleep. And, interesting enough, over the past, I would say, month and a half, I've been getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which is unheard of for me. But I feel good. I feel rested, and I'm getting the benefits of taking care of myself. Many of us have not created their neurological wiring of taking care of myself, achieving, taking care of myself, feeling good, taking care of myself, showing up as my authentic self. Creating that connection consistently really can change your habits and start to rewire sort of this feeling as if I can't rest. Well, really, you have no option. You have to rest, because if you want to sustain your output and to do the things that you're called to do on this earth, you need to take care of your body.
Absolutely. So tell me, if you had one piece of advice that you could leave with our viewers and our listeners, what would that piece of advice be?
My entire message is to give people hope, to let people know that there is another way of life to live. And I think the highest message that I always like to express is there are tools out there to enhance the quality of your life. If you're not feeling well, if you're not fulfilled enough, if you're not enjoying this process of life, there are ways to enhance it. You have to go seek those resources, listening to podcasts such as this, listening to the radio station, listening to books, maybe going to coaching or therapy. But there are ways to enhance your quality of life, even if it looks good. The inner life is what really matters. And when that inner resilience, that inner joy starts to express itself externally, that's when your life really starts, because you're starting to create a foundation for yourself and not try to live up for a foundation or try to live up for external validation for somebody else, and creating that self-trust to let yourself know that taking care of yourself is one of the most important things that you can do.
Absolutely. So tell us, if they wanted to get your book, which is Success Starts Within, or reach out to you for some more information on how they could possibly avoid burnout and get out of some of that hustle culture, how can they reach you? How can they find your book?
Yeah, absolutely. So my book's on Amazon. It's titled Success Starts Within. It's been published since 2023. And there are simple practices to really enhance the quality of your life right now, so that you can sustain your success as well as your fulfillment. And then on top of that, I also offer one-on-one coaching on my website at chazzscott.com. So that's CHAZZ, Scott, SCOTT.com. And I actually offer a self-paced course you can do by yourself, videos and recordings of what's called the Rise and Reclaim Blueprint, which helps you to rise out of burnout, reclaim your energy, reclaim your self-trust, and reclaim your joy in this life experience so you can do the things that you're called to do on this earth without burnout. So that Rise and Reclaim Blueprint self-paced course is also on my website. And for the listeners, I have a discount code. You can put the promo code podcast in there, and you can get 20% off of that self-paced course for anybody that's interested.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you on the show to share your nuggets, to talk about your book, Success Starts Within. I think we got some great nuggets on how to avoid some of the hustle, and you know, it's just looking out for yourself, being aware of what's going on, and not ignoring it, not ignoring some of those signs. So we want to thank you for coming on today and taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. Wow, that was a great conversation with our guest, Chaz Scott. Just want to give you a little information on some things that's going on. I want you to make sure to check out my article, Rooted to Rise, Stepping Boldly into Your Season of Thriving, which is officially featured in Wildlife Lay Magazine Feminine, issue number 13. So if you would like the link to read the article and also to read the full magazine, that issue 13, you can email me at info@exwsi.com. Wow Life Lay Magazine Feminine is a global faith centered women's magazine which is created to inspire, empower, and elevate women who are intentional about living out their God given purpose. So, great article. I was very excited to be asked to contribute to for an article for this month's for their month's magazine. I'm also excited, still excited, and I keep continuing to let you all know that we were on the top 100 Best Career Mindset and Working Women podcast, and that we are still proudly sitting at number 16 on the list. So that is not bad. Out of 100, we are number 16. So maybe we keep going, we'll reach that number one slot. So thank you all for continuing to support the show. Also, make sure to get to check out my book, Show Up to Rise Up, Explore the Transformative Power of a Positive Mindset, which achieves bestseller status on Amazon in the Women and Business category. It's also available on Amazon, or you can get it on my website. The website is www.exwsi.com. So if you go on the website, just click on the dashboard and hit Success Store, and it'll bring you to the book, and you'll be able to purchase it. Don't forget to make sure to view my TEDx talk that I did in Vancouver, Canada. Make sure to do so. The topic was Show Up to Rise Up. Of course, you can watch it on YouTube. Just put in my name in the search box, Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, and it'll bring it right up. I'm excited because right now it is at 226,808 views. And of course, you know, the goal is to get to 1 million plus views. So thank you for those of you who continue to share it, to continue to watch it. So make sure you continue to share, continue to like, continue to comment on the video. And finally, I am also a contributing writer to Own It magazine, where I share nuggets and resources every month. Own It magazine is a resource for personal, professional, and business development. So make sure if you'd like to get a free copy, free subscription, I should say, you can email me at info@exwsi.com and just let me know that you'd like a free subscription to Own It magazine. Again, I want to thank my guests, Chaz Scott, and my viewers and my listeners for joining me today. This is the Successful Women Show. I am Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis. And if you'd like to reach out to me, you can email me at info@exwsi.com. I would also like for you to make sure that you share this episode, that you like this episode, comment on it. We had some great nuggets from our guests today. And as you know, we are here every week. And again, I am your host, Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, helping women to accelerate the path to success. Thank you again for joining me. I love you all to life. And as always, be well. and stay safe out there.
This is success. Success